Okay, we are live. Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This is my first time to try to multi-stream platform to everyone. So just want to introduce myself, Keli Rabon here, and I'm joined today by Ryan Matta. I have gotten to know him a little bit over the last few months through the Charlie Kirk investigation. I, like many people, just was captivated and wanted to do what I could as a former journalist, but now citizen journalist, to try any way possible that I could to help. And Ryan just became a natural leader in the cause. And so here we are, just trying to help in any way possible. And so Ryan has really led the charge in that front. But he's here today to talk a lot about his other project that, gosh, how long have you been working, Ryan, on this project? And kind of take it away, give us a background on yourself, wherever you want to dive in.
Yeah, Kelly, thanks so much for having me. I've been following your work, and it's amazing seeing all these citizen journalists kind of coming together and like kind of standing united, right? Like this is our JFK moment, except for this time we're not going to let him get away with it, and we're going to make sure that the history books remember and we document every step of this, exactly who we think it is and why we think this happened. But so my name is Ryan Matta. I'm an investigative journalist, documentary filmmaker. I was just a humble Bitcoiner, making my Bitcoin podcast. Before that, I was a controls engineer, and I thought I was just going to write out the rest of my days talking about Bitcoin and investing. And then YouTube demonetized my channel in 2022, almost 2023, because I put out a video that said, from Andrew Tate, that said Bitcoin was a better investment than a house. It got labeled as violent and dangerous content, and they nuked my channel and nuked all my income. Just so happened to be that time I was filming for a company called LFA TV and filming at CPAC, actually filming Trump speak. And it was 6:45 p.m. and I got a text from all my subscribers on YouTube saying they basically took away my income, or they shut down the paid subscriptions. And I looked over my email. It said I got demonetized. That led me down to walking out the door at 7:03, 17 minutes later. And the owner of LFA TV offered me a job on his network. First week on the network, I come forward, or a whistleblower comes forward and tells me that our government's running the world's largest child trafficking ring. So that was about 3 years ago when I first got introduced to just how corrupt our government was. I mean, I went down to Texas to film. This was when we were talking about the invasion of the migrant children. And I was just, this kid tells me that our government's running the world's largest child trafficking network, and that he's been trafficking children to pretty much all 50 states for the last 8 years under the Trump and Biden administration. But under the Trump administration, he was reunifying children most of the time with their parents, or at least he believed he was. And under the Biden administration, it went from I'm dropping a kid off at the airport to its mother. And like the second the kid sees the mom, she's like ripping herself out of my arms, and she's running to see her mom, and she's arms wide open and hugs and tears. And you see the emotion, like when you reconnect a child or a mother with her child that she lost at the border, or that had to get separated for DNA testing, or whatever the case may be. And then he went from that to seeing like guys just showing up, and just like the kid, like kid, not, there's no hugs, there's no love. The guy just grabs the daughter by the hand, thanks. And he walks away, and like as the girl's walking away, she's like looking over her shoulder, like, are you going to save me? I'm going with this complete stranger. And he goes, that's when I realized that I was, part of a trafficking operation. And, I did it for a little bit longer, but it got to the point where he just went through this process of like actually what ended up breaking him. And it was when he was in the Row Hotel. He ended up leaving that because he realized what he was doing, but he's like, oh, maybe I can do something else in this field. And I can go work at one of these migrant hotels. It's all adults, right? It's mainly adults. And he said he went to New York to open the Row Hotel. That was the 5,000 person migrant hotel. And when he got there, it was just absolute chaos. There'd be like 10 supervisors on staff, and he was like the head supervisor. So we had to kind of oversee everything. And it'd be like, oh, we got a woman getting beat by her husband on floor 8. All units respond. So he'd respond to that. And then it was like, oh, we got a kid drunk in the lobby. He's 14. All units respond. He'd come down there. And he'd be like, oh, so-and-so got, a kid just got in a fight in the lobby, or whatever the case. Maybe it was just one call after the next. And he said that there was a 10-year-old boy showed up one day drunk in the lobby, and he went and, started talking to this little boy, and he'd come to find out that the little boy had been wandering from hotel room to hotel room. Lord only knows what he was doing and who he was doing it with. And he was drunk, smoking cigarettes, and 10 years old. And to come to find out that the family left their kid. It was just the parents just left him at the hotel. The parents were no longer there. They checked out, and they just left their kid wandering around. And the kid was just going from hotel room to hotel room, whatever older men or women were having their way with him, probably men, and feeding him booze and getting him drunk. And then he showed up in the hotel lobby, belligerent, belligerent, and then that's when they kind of find out that story. And he's just like, this is just too much. I can't do it. And then the very, very last straw was he got an email from his supervisors at, because he previously worked for a company, MVM Inc., and they were delivering the children. They were reuniting the children with their so-called sponsors. And they sent out an email saying like, hey, just want to let the staff know that we accidentally were delivering the children to the wrong adults, which means that.
How does that, like, yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. It means that, so how this, when the child arrives at the border, they have information either written on their arm in permanent marker, a name, an address, and a phone number. I call it the buyer's information. It could be on a safety pin to a note on their shirt or in a folder in their backpack. And when they arrive at the border, they don't have a parent or anybody with them. So it's the Border Patrol agents that take that information, put it into their file. Then they call up an NGO. The NGO comes and picks up the child, takes them over to HHS. HHS is supposed to do the initial intake screening. They're supposed to open the child's file, see if he has a sponsor, contact the sponsor. Sponsor submits information. And then basically, once the sponsor has been vetted, HHS calls up the NGO and says, hey, we need you to take Sally to this location at this time. So the NGO picks up Sally, flies across the country to whatever baggage claim. And then while at baggage claim, the person who's receiving the child is supposed to hand over an ID. Now that ID doesn't have to match the person handing it over. It just has to match the person that's in the manila envelope, because the caseworker made a copy of that ID they submitted. So the guy's supposed to open up the envelope and get the ID and go, yep, ID matches the envelope, and gives the kid over. So what that means is basically they were somehow in the system, they got some addresses mixed up or some IDs mixed up, and were giving the wrong kids to the wrong adult. What that leads me to believe is that these people receiving these kids were not specific about what kid that they were receiving. They were willing to take any kid. When somebody showed up at the airport and delivered them a child, they hadn't seen that. They didn't know what Sally looked like. They didn't know what Jamie looked like. They didn't know what so-and-so child that they were receiving looked like. They were just receiving a child. So
And
what
they
that,
were, sorry, go ahead.
no. So when you talk about child trafficking, there's two really dangerous parts of the journey for the child trafficker. The second most dangerous is bringing the merchandise across the border. And the first most dangerous, and this is dangerous for the trafficker himself, is delivering that merchandise to a buyer in America. What the cartels quickly realized is under the Biden administration, all they had to do was label a child, a name, an address, and a phone number, and deliver that child to the border. And then our government would take over the most two dangerous legs of the journey for the child trafficker. They would get the merchandise across the border, and then they would deliver that merchandise to the buyer. So all the cartel had to do was actually have an actual cell phone, right, that they had the number to. They could write any address and any name for the buyer, right? They would send that children on their way. So now all I have to do is I have to deliver this cell phone to whoever wants to buy that child. We send it with a fake ID. The address matches the ID and address and phone number and everything we put on there. So once that person receives that phone, he goes, yeah, I'm calling. He calls HHS and say, I'm looking for my child. Hey, what's your name? Ryan Matta. Okay, what child are you looking for? I'm looking for John, John Adams. What's his birthday? And I already know because the trafficker, knows all this, right? So John Adams is he's 12 and his birthday is 97 or 2012, 10/10/2012. They go, okay, congratulations, that information matches. We need you to fill out this FRA application. They send me an application. I fill it out. It's just like a job application, basically, with less information. And they want my name, my address, and my ID. Basically, they get the application. They say, okay, we need you to submit your identification. I got my fake ID. They know it's fake. They're going to pass it anyways. I send them a photo via WhatsApp. So they take that photo via WhatsApp and they go, John Adams. Okay, that's a New York ID created in 2015. They go on Google and they go, New York ID 2015. And they hold up their WhatsApp message next to the screen. Like, yep, that looks like a legit ID. Looks good. Rubber stamp it. Kid goes off to that guy.
I mean, you
And
hear about
we did this.
people having such a hard time, trying to even, legally adopt a child. And here we're talking about just such a sloppy system of quite literally trafficking, stealing children.
Yeah, so the CPS system, which is what my new film is going to get into, we can get into that in a
Mhm.
minute. But if you're trying to basically adopt a child, right, or become a foster care parent, every single person living in that household has to have a background check on them, right? And like a deep background check. They want to make sure that you're not delivering a child to a house where there's been, issues of sexual abuse, or there's anybody living there that has any criminal record, even felonies. It's really, really hard. So because HHS was a completely different system, and they knew what guardrails didn't really work in the CPS system to create an operation like this, they pretty much removed all those guardrails. So in the vetting process, depending on how the child was related to his sponsor, if it was a mother, a father, a grandma, or grandpa, you basically were category 1. So if it was category 1, there was only a background check had to be done on the person receiving the child. Okay, so if the traffickers were smart, they would tell the kid to say, hey, when you submit this information, say it's your uncle, your grandpa, your dad, your mother, whoever.
Right.
And Trump had DNA testing in the Trump administration, right? So that was one of the first things that the Biden administration removed, or they let the contract expire when they stopped doing the DNA testing. So that basically took off all the guardrails to any type of real vetting process. And then we still don't know who was doing these. Some third-party company was doing the background check. So they were supposed to have some type of, at least one person in the household does have to have a background check done. But those background checks went to some independent third-party company that nobody's ever heard of. And when the results came back, the only person who actually seen those, it wasn't the case manager who was working the case, which you'd think would be smart. Should have to get signed off by a supervisor and the case manager to make sure that, the kid's not being delivered to a strip club or something crazy like that, which they were. And then,
They were. Well, oh my gosh.
So 8,000, we got a whistleblower that came forward and had 8,000 addresses of where they had allegedly delivered these children to, or actually at the very least authorized the delivery to. At first, they were delivering them to the house, and they realized that like some of these houses were pretty sketchy and the employees were saying things about it. So they realized, well, we can just have them pick them up at baggage claim. We won't have to rent a car when we're there. It'll save us a lot of time and effort. So we'll just have them meet us at baggage claim. So in order to get a child, you have to send in the ID of where the address of that kid is supposed to allegedly be living. So caseworkers are supposed to get on Google Earth and type that address in Google Earth and go and spin a little thing around and go, yeah, this looks like a good, safe place for a child. Sure. It's like blurry. The plants are blurry. You can't see anything. Like half the things are blurred out on Google Earth. You can't even tell it's legit. And you have no idea if they actually did it. They were so busy that sometimes they were trying to process like 1,000 kids a day through these intake facilities. So the caseworkers were overwhelmed. They only had 14 days in their little system, their protocol, to do a full review, do an investigation, contact the case worker, make sure that the kid's good and he has a sponsor. And they had to get him out at the very least to an NGO, and they would sit in the NGO home. They couldn't stay in HHS's care for longer than 14 days. So a whistleblower came forward with 8,000 addresses, and they didn't make it through the first 1,000 before they started fighting strip clubs. So meaning somebody submitted ID or somehow provided an address, and that address was actually obviously a fake ID, it was a strip club. And they vetted that and then authorized the delivery of a child to that address, which just happened to be a strip club. They authorized the delivery of I think it was when the whistle was first blown, it was like 137. Then it was like 340. And then after it was all supposed to be shut down, supervisors got involved, access to government databases was removed. So caseworkers couldn't actually cross-reference and find these things out. Last we heard, it was like 571 children to one apartment complex with only 50 units. It's like, at the very least, it's like 9 children per room. And there was 32 units were 1-bedroom units.
Are these the kinds of things? I mean, I haven't heard of these kinds of facts before, these kind of anecdotes. I mean, I've heard of plenty of terrible stories, about child trafficking and about about terrible CPS stories, but I haven't heard of anecdotes like this. I mean, is this the kind of stuff that the mainstream news is even covering? Or, I mean, is this stuff?
So it's crazy. Like when Carlos is the whistleblower and he's like, yeah, you can come down to Texas and I can take you to these facilities where there's kidnapped migrant children in them. I'm like, what do you mean you could take me? He's like, yeah, like I used to work there. We can go right up to the facility. I'm like, you can take me into a facility where there's kidnapped migrant children? He said, well, I can't go in. We can go to the door, but they have a whole, like one of the places we went was a Walmart. They had converted an old Walmart into a child migrant detention facility that held 1,200 migrant children ages 13 to 17. These were boys. And if you even got, like Walmart's, there's like a Walmart, and then you have like a gas station across the street and other businesses and a McDonald's or whatever. But there's like that road, it's like the access road to Walmart, but it's also the access road to McDonald's. We could get right up to the edge of their property and you could see the whole Walmart parking lot. First time I went there were so many cars there that it looked like Walmart on Christmas Eve. Like every spot in the entire parking lot was filled.
Like,
And they had created an overflow for like another 100 vehicles. Those were just the employees to take care of the children inside that facility. There was 1,300 of them. Yeah, the whole Walmart. I mean, every corner of the Walmart, showers, cots, like bunk beds, the whole 9 yards. So when I drone that facility, and you have to get there at certain times because they don't like to be seen, right? And they have big privacy fences around the back with like an actual like an open and closed metal, 16-foot tall gate. That way they would open, bus would pull in, gate would close, and it's got that privacy, like the black privacy, like mesh stuff that you can't really see through the fence. So we'd have to hide out at like 5:30 in the morning in the bushes behind the Walmart, and then fly the drone up. And the drone, you'd see the employees moving them. And then right down the street from that was a girls' shelter. It held girls ages 0 to 12. And that one, they have little like condo units, like apartment style things, like not like a tall story apartment, but like a single unit, like basically a studio, if you will. Inside those
okay.
each studio held like 12 children. So those were the ones where there was an RV park. So we were able to get into an RV spot next to it. And there's like, again, same fence set up. And then I would at 5 in the morning, I would fly my drone up. And then right at dawn, like right as soon as the sun came up, you would see the caseworkers going door to door to door, or the supervisors going door to door to door, because the children can't leave their little cabanas without a supervisor. So they'd go door to door to door, knock on the doors, and they'd gather like 3 kids from each house, and then they would walk those kids. It was like the walk of shame, almost like a football field, back to the actual front office, which was a giant pole barn like facility where the kids would wait. That's where the cafeterias were, but the kids would wait there for basically them to get all their paperwork, their backpacks, their clothes. And now they were going to get actually delivered to a sponsor. So it was pretty crazy. I thought I was going to win like I wasn't a journalist. I just was coming off being a Bitcoiner. I'm still not even consider myself really a journalist. I'm just a guy with a camera, and a cutoff hoodie most of the time, just talking shit about our politicians. But I went down there and I thought that we were going to win some awards, or like people are going to be so outraged. I mean, I thought I was breaking the story of the century. And I came back and I got on a few networks, InfoWars, Redacted, a few bigger podcasts. I was on LFA TV, so I had my own show on a TV network, and I thought, like, this is it, right? Like, this is going to be the biggest story ever. And it made some headline news, but at the time, it was right after that, the New York Times broke the story of like there being 85,000 missing children. And that one got a lot. I mean, they got Senate hearings, that got oversight hearings, so our government was aware of it. Then we had taken over the House, right? It was the Republicans were lecturing us on power of the purse, power of the purse, power of the purse. When we get back control of the House, because the Congress actually has the authority to demonetize any executive order. So no executive order can be carried out without the funding. Congress has the ability to write legislation that defunds these executive orders. And they don't really need Senate approval for this. They just need to write the legislation and defund it because they control the power of the purse.
Well, that's why we end up in circles so often, right? I mean, that's why we just chase our tail half the time. It's like, okay, well, we can just grandstand about things and say we're going to do stuff, but then if it doesn't get funded or it gets defunded, then that's why some things never change.
And that's exactly it, because it's almost like what we've watching. I've been saying it from day one is Republicans are going to sabotage themselves, because Republicans just want to be able to talk, but they don't want to actually have to be responsible to do any action. So if they can, you can be running your campaign, you can be 5 points ahead, and talking about abortion would be political suicide. And then your vice president comes out and starts talking about how Republicans need a complete abortion ban, right? And it's like, these things I don't think are done on accident. I think they're fraudulent slips. I think they're done on purpose to purposely sabotage themselves, because I don't think Republicans actually want to be in control, because it's so much easier to get on Fox News, they get their talking points, they get on Mark Levine, they get to lecture us about the Constitution and how they're the most pro First Amendment, pro Second Amendment. And then when they actually get in control, they do nothing to protect us.
It's so much easier to complain than to actually act.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So you have these government organizations like, my new documentary called Never in America was just released on X a few hours ago. It's doing pretty good. If you guys could swing over there at Ryan Matta Media and show it some love, mainly in the comments, you're welcome to cut as many clips of it. Take them. My editor did such a good job on this. There's so many viral clips. So if you guys are one of these people who goes on other accounts and grabs clips and shares them on yours, take my documentary, cut up as many pieces as you want, post them on your own accounts like they're your own. Just tell people and talk about what's going on. So CPS is its own animal. I was going on a rant there and I completely lost my train of thought, but I was going to try to pull it back in.
It's okay. This is like the Ryan Matta show right now. So come on, you feel free. Would you like to show the trailer?
Yeah, let's show the trailer and then we'll jump back into CPS. Yeah,
that'll give you a second to think about where you want to go with where you want to go next. So, and also I apologize to the folks. I keep glancing down here, but I've got some folks in the IG. I didn't want to restart the stream, but for those that are trying to watch, I'm trying to stream it on my phone. I'll end up posting clips later for them, but in the meantime, I'm trying to make the best of what's around. So I'm going to add that.
See, it's the greatest fear of parents to have their child taken from them. How in the world does it happen by force at the point of a gun?
It's in for what? We're not going to screw with you, you understand? Come on. Get out of the car. Hey, you can't leave me. Give me the baby, okay?
I can't. I'm so scared.
This one really made my stomach sink.
I can't even believe this story.
Cyrus, the 10-month-old baby who's been kidnapped, stripped from his loving parents by CPS.
No, go in the car. Cyrus. In the car. It's all right. It's okay.
Cyrus.
It's okay. It's all right.
Cyrus.
No,
I don't want anybody to have to endure this.
The Baby Cyrus case was the second most viral case in American history regarding CPS.
The media is not really covering this because this is, in fact, medical kidnapping.
They claim that Baby Cyrus was underweight.
The kid has lost weight.
Take the baby away.
Get the baby out with CPS to the foster parents.
They were willing to release baby Cyrus to a foster family.
I won't let him go.
It offers financial incentives to the states that increase adoption numbers.
There's billions of dollars to be had just from the federal government if you take the kids out.
They are profiting off of it.
There's nothing more evil, there's nothing more wicked than what I call child profiting systems.
Once a child is legally kidnapped, the child is far more likely to suffer abuse.
The most dangerous place to be for a child is in the government custody.
He literally has missed out on his childhood because of this.
In 10 months, I've never seen my grandson like this ever.
They just didn't even properly care for him.
It just looked like he was half dead.
That's the care that these animals are saying.
Protesters taking sides in a child welfare case.
We need more people out here. We need more people to stand for this.
I was extremely naive and I thought there's no way that my son would be taken from me.
These are loving parents. They followed every instruction they were told, and they're being treated like criminals.
These parents, trapped in the system, become like refugees. They do not know what to do, and the loss of their children is devastating.
No man lives in freedom if you live under the constant threat of your child being taken away from you by force.
I'll do anything for Cyrus, for my son. I'll do anything for him.
I've seen this so many times. I can't be that next person. I can't.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, huh? You're on mute.
Thank you. Okay, I teared up twice, and I've watched that trailer now 3 times, at least 3 or 4 times, and I still tear up because it's not only emotional on its own, but I know just enough about the system to really feel like triggered by it, and to know how easy it is for people to be pulled into it and how easy it is for people to manipulate it on many different sides of it. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's actually insane to think about how there's a system that has been created by our government that you don't have the ability to fight against, right? You don't have the right to a free trial. You don't have the right to a court system. You are, when CPS comes to take your child, you are guilty until proven innocent. So, and then when they have possession of your child, there is really no rules. Like you almost lose complete custody, not at first, But after your child's been in the government's care for at least, 12 months, they have to legally sign rights over. So they take full control of your child. And then at that point, you might be one of the parents who's been unlucky because your child was taken because you believe that you should homeschool your kid, or you believe that you shouldn't vaccinate your child. And then if you believe that, and the doctors really have the final say. So let's just say your kid's home from school and he's sick. I just posted a video today. A mother had their house caught on fire. Kid was sick. It was the flu season. And the kid stayed home 5 days. And there was a letter sent from the juvenile court saying that you need to come in. And she was like freaking out. What do you mean I need to come in?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you missed that court date. Maybe your kid's just in the backyard playing and somebody calls and is like, hey, it's weird. Like the last couple of weeks, like Johnny's been home. Maybe you started homeschooling your kid and they didn't know. And neighbor calls and says, oh, I've seen Johnny outside. It's 11 o'clock. He's supposed to be at school. He's not at school. It's just kind of weird. I don't know if something's going on with the mom or what. So CPS shows up at your house. Once they get a call, they have to show up. They have to do a wellness check. So they show up and they say, you think you're a great mom. You love your kid. You've never done anything wrong. Your kid's just been sick. So CPS says, hey, can we come in your house? And you say, yeah, sure. They come in the house and they're like, now you messed up, right? You don't have to legally let them in. You can tell them to pound sand and go away, and most of the time they will. But if you let them in, you've opened the gates of hell. Now they're eye inspecting everything. Oh, you got some dirty clothes on the couch. You didn't fold those? Are those dirty? Oh, you got some dirty dishes in the sink. Oh, there's a pee stain here. You're like, hey, I got a new puppy. You're like, but you just let it pee on your floor? No, it's a new puppy. That just happened like right before you walked in the door. It's still wet. Now you're neglecting your child. Now we have court. Now we decide, and then when is the last time you vaccinate your child? Oh no, I don't believe vaccinate. Oh, okay. Well,
you're one of those.
You're one of those, right? Or I just started homeschooling my kid. Oh, you're one of those. Okay, so anything they can come up with anything. There's been so many cases where you would hear these reasons, like the baby Cyrus, which is exactly what my documentary is about. They had their child had cyclic vomiting syndrome. So it just would vomit sometimes up to 30 times a day, relentlessly, nonstop. And the doctors don't really have a cure for this. It's not really a disease. It's a what's like a temporary disease. I forget what the verbiage is for that. But that's what he has. So
like a condition, an ailment, something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. They normally grow out of it by the time he's completely grown out of it now, and I think he's 5 roughly. So that they will grow out of it. But at the time, the doctors didn't have a cure for it, right? They still don't have a cure for it. He couldn't digest certain types of protein. He could only drink his mother's milk. Okay. So, but at one point they went, the kid had a bad couple of days. So they decided
like an allergy. Yeah. That they can grow out of.
So they took him they were going to their home doctor, their natural doctor, or whatever, but they went on a 3 or 4 day spout where it got bad. So they ended up going to the hospital. When they're in the hospital, it was, oh, you see your kid's behind on a few vaccines. Oh yeah, we don't vaccinate our child. Oh, you're one of those parents. That's where the whole demeanor of the conversation shift. Well, then I'm going to have to order you to go to these weigh-ins because you have to go do 3 weigh-ins or something like that. So they should do the first 2. Then in the third one, she was sick. She had sore throat, didn't feel good, woke up, was like, hey, called them, was like, hey, I need to reschedule. I'm not feeling good. I come in tomorrow or later. And 20 minutes later went by, and her phone is blown up. She had already fallen asleep. She didn't feel good. And they had already called CPS on her. And then they came and basically at gunpoint took the child. So they ripped them out of the car. They tracked their cell phones. They followed them to a gas station where they got pulled over, pulling into the gas station, and they recorded the whole thing. Luckily, their dad and their uncle Eamon Bundy was running for governor. The dad was previously a pastor, so he had this huge network of people that when they heard the story that CPS took their baby, they knew the family. They had this huge network of people. They had hundreds of people outside the hospital protesting. They had thousands of people writing emails, and it became one of the largest, in my personal opinion, the largest CPS cases in American history. And there's one that I think might be a little bit larger, but this is the most modern one, and it's a huge case, and it kind of blew up in their face. And then after they got their baby back 8 days later, but it took a massive amount of work, as any parent would do anything to get their child back. Now what's happening is St. Luke's, the hospital, that is going after them for lawfare, suing them for up to like $52 million. They're still fighting it to this day. This was probably 2 or 3 years ago when this case actually happened. It's during the COVID era. So yeah, it's just like after, if you fight and actually get your child back, which is rare, only 54% of parents ever get their child back. 480,000 children are taken every year, roughly, and it keeps going up and up and up. So that was last year's statistics. According to a CPS audit in 2019, 83.3% of the time CPS is in the wrong, which means that it's roughly 215,000 children a year that are ripped out of loving parents' arms, and they should have never been ripped out of their arms. And then 54% of those, so another 108,000 children, should have never been taken from a parent. The parent loved them. They were wrongfully taken, and those kids never see their parent again. And then there's about a 98% chance that if you are rescued from there's about a 98% chance that if you went through the foster care system at some point of your life, you've been sexually abused or assaulted. 85% of the child porn they're finding in New York City right now, the children on that and in those images were children from foster care system. I could go on and on and on. I mean, Catch Me were to kick a door down right now and were to rescue a female child sex trafficking victim, there's like a 60 to a 90% chance that that girl was in foster care. So whatever we're taking these children from, we're putting them into an absolute nightmare.
And you think, yeah, and like the chances of, like, we are just at the point where we cannot trust. We think we can trust them to protect us? Absolutely not. You know, and I don't know. It's just, I hope I don't regret this, but like, it's just on my heart to just share the story, and I just keep feeling this flutter in my system. So I'm just going to share.
Let's do it.
Because I want to validate what you were saying on behalf of that family a minute ago. When this was a few years ago, shortly after COVID, I was on a trip. I was in Paris. Like, I'd never been before, and was with some girlfriends on a work trip, and I'm divorced. So my ex was here with my ex-husband was here with the boys, and anyway, had an altercation with his fiance at the time, and so ends up getting arrested, and CPS got involved, right? And so, yeah. And so I was overseas, and I had to come back to deal with that. And I mean, it's a single parent's worst nightmare. Very scary. But to come back and then have CPS knock on my door and then want to question me, and I wasn't even there and involved in that incident, and like give me the rundown, and then inspect my house and look in my kitchen sink, take photos of my refrigerator and my freezer and my laundry room. Literally all of those things that you were saying. I mean, she took photos and videos of every inch of my house. And there, I'm like, what are we doing here? I was in another country when this happened. I had nothing to do with this incident. And then she's like, well, but I also heard that you feed the boys donut. You get the boys donuts on the way to school. Like, hold on a second. How am I involved in this thing?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God. I mean, it was so I was just over as you were talking. I'm like, I'm trying to hold it together. I'm like shaking, because it was so scary to think like, hold on a second. I love on my kids more than, anything. How in the world could I suddenly be in their crosshairs? Meanwhile, like, it was no problem for him because he had a lot of money. He had lawyers on staff, and had no problem telling them to F off. And I didn't get that memo.
It's insane. You were this close to losing your kid, literally that close. Any mistake, once they got your kid, then you get hit with a gag order, right? So that's the real crazy part, is after they take your kid, they hit you with a gag order, and they pretty much put your kid in in witness protection for children for the most part, right? Like if they don't want you to find your kid, you're not finding your kid. You have no communication, no way to talk to them, and the kid just basically vanishes into the night. The paper trails are hidden. So like even with legal attorneys, good luck finding your kid. And then if you speak out against it, they're going to come and arrest you. And then if you disobey their order, they might offer you like 1 hour supervised visits once a week, and you're just praying like you're going to see your kid again. You just need to tell your kid face to face like it's going to be okay, like mommy's coming for you, and you do anything for that once a week 1 hour visit. And you either shut your mouth and maybe you get it, but that's at the discretion of the foster care worker. So she could say that, hey, Johnny was being mouthy, or Johnny didn't do his homework, or Johnny didn't fold his clothes, didn't make his bed in the morning.
Yeah. And then it's like, then you start thinking like, well, I mean, what can I tell my kid? Then am I going to get in trouble for saying something to my own child? Because then are they going to be like, well, but did your mommy coach you on what to say? Like I was thinking like, am I in some alternate universe? Like, hold on, I had nothing to do with this situation. And suddenly I'm terrified of talking to my own kid. Like, it was surreal. It was so surreal.
And that happens to 480,000 parents a year.
So anyway, I just had to share that.
I'm glad
I don't
you
know
did.
how we fix it. I don't know how we fix it, but
You can't. The system is so broken. Our country is so corrupt. The best thing that you could do for you and your family is I tell every man out there, get your wife and children to safety. You can buy homes, beautiful homes in these third world countries that are super, super safe for pennies on the dollar, right? Like you say you have a $400,000 home here, you got it halfway paid off. You could take out a second mortgage, take out another $100,000 loan, refinance your house, take that $100,000, and you could go buy a house, property, get your wife, get your children out of this country, and do whatever you need to. Fly down there twice a month to see them, whatever you got to do to get them out of this country, because there's better schools, there's better opportunity. You can send your kid to a international school, for $5,000 a year, which is like better than private schools here in America. Your kid will be speaking and reading and writing in like 3 or 4 languages by the time he's like 12. Like my friend in El Salvador, her son's speaking 5 languages already, reads, writes, and speaks 5 languages at 12. And
so what do you do if you're divorced?
Figure out a way. You got to figure out a way to work from online and then make the leap yourself. I mean, you got to figure out, can you take your kid with you? I mean,
for someone though who is in maybe a tumultuous, or families or people who are in a situation where they may not get along as well with their ex.
It would be almost impossible. There's nothing you can do. You're gonna guarantee that
I would say there's a lot of people out there, who are in that situation where it's like they're one phone call away, from having their, ex say something bad about them, right? And then being in that predicament.
It's the worst thing that you could do for yourself, for your ex, is call CPS. I guarantee you that's an absolute nightmare. You don't want to let them in your house. You don't want to get them involved in your whatever you guys are going through. CPS is not the answer. They are not going to here to help you. They're not going to be here to help them. So, I don't know where. I think America is like they say, like good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create good times. We're at the point where, times are really, really good for a really long period of time, and it's created a lot of weak men. And the scary part is a lot of those weak men got into positions of power. They produce nothing of wealth. They're not somebody you'd look up to. They're not somebody you want to be your role model. They've been groomed and put into positions of power by our intelligence agencies for decades now. So America's headed towards really dark times. I think we all thought that Trump was going to be our dude. I know I was out campaigning for the guy. I was drinking the MAGA Kool-Aid. I was rah Trump rallies, taking my son out in below zero temperatures in, full on snowboarding outfits, hats, hand warmers, 3 hoodies, and snow pants and boots. And it was still so cold out there. I had to leave. We didn't even get to see Trump speak. We had stayed out in line for like 4 hours. By the time we got into the hangar, my son was like, so cold. It's Dad, can I take a nap? And I'm like, you that cold? He's, no, I'm not that cold, Dad. I can wait. I just want to lay down. You get freezing. So he lay down on my lap, and it was like freezing there. And I just felt like so bad. I was like, all right, buddy, let's just go, man. We'll see Trump another time. But that's how dedicated we were there for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I love Trump. I would have taken a bullet for him. I said that on my live stream, and like people call me a domestic terrorist or something, because I was willing to take a bullet for Trump. And then looking back now, like, what an idiot. Like, I thought this guy was going to come in and drain the swamp. I thought he was going to appoint nothing but like the most based people around him. I think it was Project 2025. You remember when Project 2025, when they were talking about how that was the Antichrist or whatever? Well,
Right.
Project 2025, it went through his entire, anybody that could have potentially been a cabinet pick for Trump. And they chose all of the absolute best picks based off of their experience, based off their voting record, based off of who would put America first and foremost above anybody else. And then Susie Wiles declared war on Project 2025. Laura Loomer declared, and there was this big psyop to basically get Project 2025 out of the way, because they were actually showing Trump like, hey, if you really want to carry out the agenda that you say you want to carry out, these are the people that you want to put in positions of power. And instead we got this Israel first, neocon, America last, scumbag administration, and they've done nothing but disappoint us. You know, Comey, I don't know if you know this yet, but Comey charges just got dropped like hours before we went live today. And it's like, that's the accountability. That's what we're really expecting this administration. USAID. I mean, Elon Musk came out swinging $600 billion worth of Doge fraud within a month. And I can't remember Elon, the day Elon put out the tweet, like, this is so bad. This is so corrupt. It's so crazy. Like, we are 100% going to see arrest after this. And there was no arrest. There was no accountability. There was no auditing the Fed. There was no, it was just like, oh, it's Main Street's term for this 4 years. And we're all like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, Main Street's going to win. We're going to get a chance. And then it's like, oh, AI bill after this. Oh, AI kit. And no member of Congress has the ability to basically rein in this AI. They're just going to do whatever they want, whenever they want, with no supervisor, no oversight. And it's just like, no mass deportations, no political arrest, no auditing the Fed, no demolishing the IRS. Tax on tips, free tax on tips. Oh, just kidding. It's only for the first 15,000. And then you're like, oh, great. Because, 5 years from now, 15,000 is going to be like $1,000 today.
Right.
So it's like, you're like, oh, Venmo's, our $600 Venmo transactions are still getting audited. I could just go on, right? It's like a never-ending list of lies that Trump told. And then every day we get online and like the White House administration and the Benny Johnsons and the White House water boys are gaslighting us about how reality is not reality. 1 + 2 = 3. And we're like, no, it doesn't. Thanksgiving grocery prices are cheaper. And then you're like, oh, but there's only 15 items on that list. And last year there was 21. And then you went from name brand products to like Walmart brand products. It's like they think we're stupid, or they just don't care, or they're just so confident that our intelligence agencies are going to rig the next election that it doesn't matter to these people. They don't represent us. Like Ted Cruz is out there.
As Benny is in the Trump hotel in Chicago, showcasing his suite with the whole Christmas get up, complete with presents and the whole feast for his family. I was gonna, I was so tempted to like respond back, be like, yeah, where's #ad? The FTC should be on you for your ad disclosures.
It's so bad. Like, it's like,
and I'm like, no, that's the last thing I need is one more reason for them to be coming for me.
For sure. That's how I feel every day. I'm just like waiting for the lawfare to hit. And it's just like,
yeah,
I don't want this for my children. I don't want to guarantee that my child grows up as a slave. Like, I was watching somebody's short the other day, and he was explaining how the Egyptian slaves had to work all day for a set rate, and they had to give 20% of what they made to the king every day. That was what they had to do as a slave. And it's like, wait, so you mean to tell me we're getting taxed more than slaves? We, as a 9-to-5 employee, if I'm not talking about your payroll tax, let's say your payroll tax 30. I'm talking about your sales tax, which is 6 to 10%. I'm talking about your property tax. I'm talking about your capital gains tax. I'm talking about your death tax. I'm talking about your every single tax you can possibly imagine, all rolled up. We give about 53% of our money to a government that wants to chemically castrate your children, that can't tell you what a woman is, that is has lied to us about everything that they have ever promised us, and is still telling us that Operation Warp Speed is the greatest accomplishment in U.S. history, and our president should be on Mount Rushmore and should get a Nobel Peace Prize for all of the love and prosperity he's pushing in the world. Half of these wars, I think, they're not really wars. I think that our intelligence agency is just starting a little scuffle so that they can bring Trump in, and Trump can be distracted for a week because he's got to go to Egypt and negotiate this peace deal, or Saudi Arabia, or Thailand, or wherever. And it's like, are these really? Like, I know that there's some conflicts there. I know that there's some crazy shit going on, but like, Trump, like, we elected you to be the president of America, right? Like, not the president of the world. We didn't elect you to go campaign for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah,
I don't know. So it's like, where do you go from here? Sunlight's the best disinfectant. I don't know. I keep putting out these films and thinking like, this is going to be the one. This film is going to go so mega viral. It's going to make such a big impact. So many people are going to see this. So many people are going to share it that it's going to change the world, right? And I keep giving this is my 7th documentary this year in the last 14 months technically. 2 I didn't put out for free, and then after that I said, hey, I got to stop doing these behind a paywall because it's not reaching the masses. Well, like if I'm giving you all the evidence that you need, like there should be enough people in America that like this is the hill we die on. It's child trafficking. It's American children being kidnapped via CPS. And I'm
What
looking
more
at
can you get behind? Yeah.
what else do you want to get behind? Like if you can't get behind this, you're gonna fall for anything. So it's like I keep doing it, and I know there's censorship on these algorithms and stuff like that, but I thought this thing would have been like, I thought we'd be at like, a couple 100,000, 1 million. We're at like 135,000 when we started, but nothing like, and maybe it's the censorship on X, but I don't know. I thought that this film would be the one that just ripped and took off, and everybody would be watching, sharing, commenting, cutting clips from immediately. And it's just not really the case. It's pretty crazy how little attention this gets. And you'd think that every podcaster, every outlet, everybody would want to be talking about the worst of the worst, but it's like they got us so divided and going in so many directions. And Kyle Seraphin calls it the laser pointer theory, right? You chase a cat will chase a laser pointer around the house all day long, 24/7, and it'll never attack the hand. Our intelligence agencies are the hand, and they're just like, oh, chase the laser pointer. We're like, oh, this or oh that or COVID-19 or Fauci or Bill Gates in the White House or Melania tweeted out or and then you have Benny Johnson in the White House water boys and his crew of all those goons. It's just relentless propaganda. No matter what Trump does, it's the greatest thing. He can bomb Iran. Oh my gosh, what a hero. He could not bomb Iran. What a legend for, not starting another war. It's like, it doesn't matter with these people. And by the way, the Epstein list is still not released. And I don't know if we're ever going to see it.
Look, I haven't heard the laser pointer theory, but that is, yes, I think that makes total sense. And I feel that to the core with what we have going on with the Charlie Kirk thing too. I mean, I think every single day that's what we're doing. Who said this today? Let's go chase that. Who said this? Let's go chase that. Let's go. And then it's like nobody's following through on what they were working on the day before, and then it all just becomes this big jumble. I'm a proponent of going back to the basics and like we've got what we've got from the beginning, and okay, take the knowledge of what we've learned now, but like apply it to what we had from the jump. And I think seeing things like with that fresh perspective, but the information, like what we know now, but looking at it with that lens of what we had back then, I think we could really make big strides.
Yeah, Nicole, I only got about a few more minutes. And I got to jump off because I'm going to be in the next interview. But you think about you're the president of the United States, you're the most powerful man in the world. Anything that you want to accomplish, any agenda is accomplishable, especially when you have AI at your fingertips, right? They have these scenarios where they can do what are called war games, where you can input a bunch of data, real world data, and it's monitoring real world points and it understands how people respond and react. So like Trump could say, hey, let's build this out. Let's feed it. This is my agenda. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I approved I told the American people I was going to do. Tell me a solution on how to do this. And it would give you out step by step. And then as you implemented a strategy, you would be able to input the real world response. And then if it got the result you wanted, if it didn't, it would give you the next best strategy. And you just keep rinsing and repeating until you were able to do all these things, right? Like Kyle Seraphin and the whistleblowers came forward, and Kash Patel on day one was like, hey, we want to know how would you guys go about basically dismantling this deep state apparatus inside the FBI. And Kyle and all the whistleblowers like, boom, 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 boom. They live it. That's all they did, study it for 4 years. Like they know it better than Kash Patel or any of these people. And Kyle gave them a step-by-step playbook, and they didn't do any of it. The whistleblowers still haven't even been reinstated. Haven't got their back pay yet. Like it's absolute insanity. And I could talk about it all day, but at the end of the day, if you guys could just do me a favor over on X right now at Ryan Matta Media, swing over there, share that, take as many clips over here, share them on your Instagram, share them on your TikTok, cut that video up into 1,000 pieces, post it everywhere, go over on Facebook, tell them, just share the link. If you could, if you're making posts, just put the link in the comments or something so people know where to find it. And the more likes, comments, and replies to that on X right now, a comment's worth. So a like's worth 1 point, a comment's worth 2, a quote tweet is worth 5, a comment's worth 20. Sorry, a like is worth 1, a retweet's worth 2, a quote tweet's worth 5, a bookmark's worth 15, a comment's worth 21, and a reply to a comment's worth 151 points. So if you got time, swing over in the comments and start having a conversation with people. And it'll like, if we overwhelm the algorithm, if everybody that watches this video today could just go there and drop 3 replies to 3 people, the amount of points that would be added to that tweet, it would really force it out into the algorithm. And we need like 5,000 quote tweets to get this thing to be trending over on X today. If we can do that, maybe we have a chance, guys. Maybe this might be like, this should be the test for everybody. Like, can we get it? I've been working the last 6 months just to bring this story to light. And I greatly appreciate you and people like Keli for bringing me on here. Make sure you guys are swinging over here and following Keli and subscribing to her channel. She's putting herself at risk even talking about this. She just shared her story that we didn't even plan on talking about today. So, you know, it's these conversations that keep moving this ball forward. And thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Keli. God bless you. Have a great
Bye,
day.
Ryan. Bye.
Bye.